Thank you for joining us. I'm Liz, and we're here with Jason Russell, President of SEC and Firestorm Solutions, a national leader in safety, security, and critical incident response led by a former team of U.S. Secret Service agents. Today we're here to talk about how Jason's team is bringing their special skill set from the White House to your schoolhouse. So Jason, as a mother, I'm really concerned with the safety and well-being of my daughter. And I know her school right now, they have, a key code lock to get in, there's cameras. Do you think that's enough to prepare them in the event of a violent attack?
I think physical security is one layer. And one of the things you want to try to do in any type of security situation is layer your safety and security. So a lot of places rely really heavily on the physical security, but if that fails, they have nothing to back it up. So one of the things that we really focus heavily on is training. It's important that everybody in a school know exactly what to do if there's an emergency. So that's our critical incident response training is designed to make sure that everybody can respond to any type of emergency that might occur.
So when you say everybody, that would be, staff, teachers, any member who's working there?
Yeah, even volunteers, if they're able to do it, or substitutes. If you happen to have a substitute teacher in your kid's room, you want to make sure that they know how to respond to an emergency. And so the more people you can train, the better. And really, a good thing about the training is it's good for not only at the school, but also in people's personal lives. So it's really widespread and able to be used in a lot of different situations.
Wow, that's amazing. So I know that her school recently added additional resource officers to the campus. Do you feel like that's an effective long-term strategy?
I think having a law enforcement presence obviously, once again, is a great layer of security. But what we've seen is a lot of schools that have had incidents have had that law enforcement presence. And if you just rely just on that one piece, it's likely to fail when you need it the most. So you want to make sure, once again, that you just have as many different things as possible. So that's a great piece, that law enforcement presence. Having good physical security, having good policies and procedures. How do you allow people in the facility? Do you vet people? Do you check people? And then backing that all up with training, which is really the most important piece.
Yeah, so you mentioned vetting and kind of checking people. Is that something that the Firestorm and SEC team does to kind of help prepare the school?
Yeah, so we can obviously provide resources to help check, do background checks or whatever that might need to be done to make sure that the proper people are working there. But also there's a lot of services that can actually do visitor checks and things like that, so you know that the people that are coming into your school should be there and they're not somebody who might be dangerous to the kids.
So when you kind of come in and you start this process, what does that look like for a school?
Yeah, so the first thing we always start with is an assessment. So it's basically looking at the school 360 degrees. So we're looking at everything from the physical makeup of the school to the policies. We're actually looking even in the environment, what's near the school that might cause them an issue. So it's kind of like an outside-in examination. So start, in the neighborhood, examine the exterior, the physical things, and then we actually look at a lot at operations. So a lot of times you'll find that a school will have security in place, but it's not used properly. So they'll have the feature, but it's being used incorrectly. So we do a really granular, deep dive examination into the site, and that's really got to be the first step, because you don't know what to do until you know what your problems are. So that's really where we want to start.
Absolutely, I love that. So as a mother and a PTA member, what kind of questions should I be asking the school administrators?
I think having parents get involved in the safety and security and having them have the confidence to go in and say, I want to make sure that you guys are doing everything you can possibly do to make sure that my kids are safe, is something that parents need to do. It's your kids, it's the most precious thing you have, and you need to make sure that they're taking every step they can possibly take. So ask them questions about, what have you done for training? What have you done for policies and procedures? And ask them to show you. There's nothing wrong with really kind of making sure that things are being done correctly. And if they're not doing things to the level that you think they need to be doing, I think as a parent group needs to really push for the schools to get things done. Budgets are tight, and there's lots of different competing priorities when it comes to education, but a kid can't learn if they don't feel safe. So I think that's got to be really a top priority for every school.
Yeah, as a parent, we should be holding them accountable and kind of following up, so I like that you say that. As a parent, how could I prepare my child for a potential, crisis or violent act outside of, talking to the school, but what could I do to arm her with the kind of equipment?
I think it's age-based, so really it depends on the age of the child, and really, you know your child better than anyone, so at what point they're kind of ready for that type of a conversation. One of the things that I think is really important is to just focus on situational awareness, having them understand their surroundings and understand that, paying attention to what's going on around them. And as they get older, you can have the conversation. once they're in elementary school, they're practicing lockdowns and things. And
They have drills constantly.
absolutely. So to be able to tell them, hey, this is why you're doing this and this is why this is important, and really make it not scary. And I think that's a lot of parents don't want to have the conversation because they're afraid that the kid's going to be scared. But when it comes from a parent and you can reinforce the fact that your teachers are equipped to protect you, I'm equipped to protect you, but you have to realize that these situations do happen, and I just want to give you the information so that you're not scared.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents are kind of concerned, like, should my child know about this? And what's too much to tell them? And with such a young mind, like, we don't want to make them, be afraid to go to school. So I think it's great to be able to equip them with that. Do you find that the schools that you've worked with feel more confident talking with their parents who bring in their children there? Like, how does that conversation start?
Yeah, I think once they go through the process, many times they realize they don't know what they don't know. So many schools feel like we're ready and we're prepared, and then once they actually go through our process, they realize we were not at all prepared like we thought we were. So it's really an eye-opener for them to see, hey, there's a lot of other things that we could be doing better, and there's some other things that, whether it's better policies, better procedures, more training, and then to be able to reinforce to the parents that we've taken all these different steps. I mean, we say from the White House to the schoolhouse, because when you could bring the people in that protected the president and have them secure your school and we look at things in a totally different way, I think that's pretty powerful. And I think for a parent to have that reassurance that they really have done everything. They brought in the best of the best.
No, I think that's huge. So from like the outside perspective, how would I know if my school or daycare or other kind of facility like that is protected by Firestorm or FCC?
So we have a certification program. So if we've been through a process through our assessment and our training process at a school, they become SEC certified, which means that you've been assessed, you've made some changes based on the assessment, and then your staff has been trained. And that certification renews every year. So our schools find value in just the consistently renewing of the certification. We now have an online version of that, so they can actually do the certification online. Makes it a little bit easier for schools to be able to get it accomplished. So
yeah, I think letting staff members do it on their own time opposed to kind of holding those conferences, I think that's great. Is there anything else that you would want parents or school administrators to know about SEC and Firestorm?
I think school administrators are getting pulled in so many different directions, and like I said, there's so many competing values and budgets are tight, but safety and security needs to be a priority.
Absolutely.
Once again, learning environments have to be safe. It needs to start with that. Parents need to be able to have confidence that they're going to be able to pick their kids up at the end of the day in roughly the same condition that they dropped them off. So I think school administrators need to really look inside and say, are we doing everything we can do? Are we focusing on this enough? And if they aren't, try to seek some help.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you learned a lot about Firestorm and SEC today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below or visit firestorm.com.